The Philadelphia Eagles were able to come out of the NFL draft as a clear winner, and in fact some say they had the best draft of any team. Obviously the headlines from their draft class were Georgia Bulldogs' Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, both of which they selected in the first round, and there was a lot of hype surrounding these two coming out of the draft. Now fast forward a month to present day, and the hype is still there for Carter and Smith, as the Eagles and their fans have extremely high hopes for these guys, not just this season but also moving down the road into the future. And judging by what we've heard over the past couple of weeks, Carter and Smith have both been shining for the Eagles in their offseason training, and with OTAs beginning today, that should only continue. It seems there is really good reason to believe that both Carter and Smith can have monster rookie years with the Eagles in 2023, and they can become franchise cornerstones for this team. And if they're able to do this, it should scare the entire NFL. So we're going to talk all about that in this video today, so let's not waste any time and let's get straight into it. Despite how great both Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith were at Georgia, both winning many individual accolades and of course 2 national championships, there were still plenty of questions with the both of them coming out of college. For Jalen Carter, there were questions about his character because of an off-the-field issue that he was dealing with leading up to the draft, and there were also questions about his work ethic and his effort, and the main red flag signaling this was that he showed up to his pro day at Georgia completely out of shape and he wasn't able to finish some of the drills. Now for Nolan Smith, his biggest concern was his size, as he's definitely on the smaller side for a defensive end or rush linebacker, and also Nolan Smith still has a lot of developing to do. He was a fairly raw prospect, and NFL GMs knew that whatever team ended up picking him, they were going to have their work cut out for them to make sure that they were able to develop him fully as a player and get the most out of him. And these concerns caused both of these players to fall in the draft. Jalen Carter was a top 3 talent in the entire class and a projected top 5 to 6 pick, and he fell all the way to number 9, where the Eagles traded up to get him with the Chicago Bears. And Nolan Smith was a top 10 to 15 talent in the draft class and a projected top 10 to 20 pick, and he fell all the way to number 30 overall, where the Eagles then abandoned trading that pick and they stayed put and obviously selected him. And these 2 picks were obviously then considered huge wins for the Eagles, as they were 2 of the top talents in the entire draft who obviously had fallen, and the Eagles got them both for great value. And now all Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith had to do was come in and put in the work to make sure that they proved all the teams that passed on them wrong and the Eagles right for selecting them. And everyone knows that these guys have crazy potential. We know what the Eagles drafted them to be, which is franchise cornerstones on the defensive side of the ball. It's just about them fulfilling that potential and putting in the work to make sure they do that, and that started immediately after the draft in rookie minicamp. And really, ever since then, all we've heard is great things about both Carter and Smith. Now, first off, we got some somewhat good news about Jalen Carter's conditioning during rookie minicamp. Obviously, that was one of the big questions about Carter heading into the draft, but in the early stages of minicamp, he apparently looked improved. Nick Sirianni said in a press conference, quote, "He looks good, he looked good out there today." But now it is worth mentioning that Sirianni emphasized that out of all the rookies at minicamp, none of them were really in the best condition or in any sort of game shape, and then he later continued on to say this.
Specifically though, he did mention that he was not in the condition he wanted to be for his pro day. Do you sense the commitment to that in the NFL?
Yeah, I sense that he wants to be a good, the best pro he can be, and not every place. Again, I don't know exactly. I have no idea what each program says the person's supposed to weigh, right? Or sometimes programs, even within the NFL, don't track that. Well, they track it, but they don't say you got to weigh this amount. We do. So that's just new to hear. We'll get him to what he's supposed to play at, and I have no doubt in my mind that he'll do whatever he needs to do to be the player he needs to be.
So obviously this is nothing crazy, but it is still at least promising that Sirianni had said Carter looked good, especially after the poor condition that he was apparently in at his pro day. And I think it's also notable that Sirianni clearly has confidence that Carter has a good work ethic and he's going to do whatever it takes to get where he needs to be. So that obviously gives a positive outlook on what Carter's mindset currently is looking like, and Jalen Carter himself spoke about what his mindset was at this point with the draft and contract stuff all being out of the way, and he said, quote, "I'm coming in with a winning mindset. I'm here to win every day. That's what I'm here to do." And that's a quote that will surely get all Eagles fans fired up about Jalen Carter. Meanwhile, Nolan Smith had begun to absorb knowledge and improve his game during Eagles rookie minicamp as well, and he spoke about some of the things that he had already learned from Eagles defensive end and outside linebacker coach Jeremiah Washburn.
Ton of advice, ton of things I learned. From fixing my lines to just simple pass rush things from simple stances. So yeah, you could say I love Coach Wash, man. He get me right as far as like my lines, my aiming points, and just, he coaching me how I want to be coached.
Do you have like a signature pass rushing move, and what is it? Could you describe it?
No, I really don't. That's what me and Coach Wash deciding to do right now.
What about the bull rush?
Sir?
The bull rush.
The bull rush? Yes, sir. I mean, speed to power. You know, that's my go-to. I set up everything off my speed though, and he's just helping me put more tools in my toolbox, as coaches will say.
And this is obviously fantastic. For one, it shows Smith's eagerness to learn and get better, but it also is good because a good work ethic, perfecting the fundamentals, and a willingness to learn bodes well for Nolan Smith's development, especially as an undersized pass rusher, which was again his biggest knock coming out of college. And at the time, he also said that he was eager to meet Eagles pass rusher Hassan Reddick, who's a little bit undersized himself, and he's eager to learn from him as well. And in terms of being on the field in rookie minicamp, both Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith looked very good. There's pretty much nothing but positives from minicamp for the both of them, and it was clear that they made a very good first impression with the Eagles. And from this point on, the hype has only continued to build, with more and more positive things coming out about both Carter and Smith since the Eagles have begun their offseason training and we move into OTAs starting today. And don't worry, we're going to get into all of that, but before we do, I just ask you one favor. If you are enjoying this video and you want to see others like it, make sure you go down and subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss another upload coming in the future. Around 80% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed, so if you're one of those people and you're enjoying the content, just make sure you go fix that and click the subscribe button. I think that's a win-win situation for both of us. Now first off, we've got plenty of clips of them putting in work on the practice field, and both look really good in these clips, at least as good as they can look without pads on. And then you have one of the Eagles' best pass rushers heaping praise onto the both of them, as Josh Sweat, a guy who knows how to work and how to improve, as he went from a 4th round pick back in 2018 and a guy who barely played all the way to a starter and a very effective pass rusher for the Eagles, getting a career high 11 sacks last year. He had some exciting comments about both Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, and specifically their work ethic.
They're great. They're the work ethic is it's pretty crazy for both of them. They're already working. Shoot, they're professionals, man. Like, it's actually surprising coming out of college, but I mean they're working. They're just here to learn, and they make an improvement, quickly. I think it's just that they've been on championship teams already. I think they just know how to go about their business.
So again, here's more comments, this time from Josh Sweat, that are sure to get Eagles fans excited, and Sweat seemed to allude to the fact that Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith already both have the right mindset and work ethic because they've both been on championship teams before, which not only is great because it gives them a leg up and separates them from other rookies that are coming into the league, but it's also great because the Eagles are a team that is obviously trying to win a championship this year, so having guys that already know how to align themselves to that is obviously huge. And it's also worth noting that again, one of the knocks on Jalen Carter specifically was his work ethic, and judging by Sirianni and now Josh Sweat's comments, that has not been a problem whatsoever so far in his time with the Eagles, and it has actually been a strength. So obviously that's a great sign as well. But the hype still doesn't stop there, and in the case of Jalen Carter, I feel like the hype gets louder and louder every single day, and he's only strengthened that hype with some recent comments he made in an interview with John Clark. Take a listen here.
Everybody's just connected. There's a good connection in the locker room and all. It's everybody connected, and I feel like we could do something with that. They gonna see what you've seen in college, but even better. And I plan on making a big impact to the team and to the season early, and go back to the Super Bowl and win it this time.
I mean, that's exactly what Eagles fans want to hear from their potential future young star. And we all know that Jalen Carter is very capable of doing this. He obviously has the ability to, and it's just going to be about whether he can fulfill his potential and live up to the hype. And this arguably makes Jalen Carter the most interesting Eagles player to watch heading into OTAs and training camp. And Brandon Lee Gowden seems to agree, as he wrote an article for Bleeding Green Nation recently titled, quote, Eagles News Jalen Carter is, quote, going to be the story of training camp. Now in the article he writes, quote, it's not even June and the excitement level surrounding Jalen Carter is off the charts. Understandable, because the kid has all the tools to be a difference maker from day one, and when you hear his teammates raving about his strength, athleticism, power, and technique, yeah, it's easy to get fired up. And then he continues on much later in the article and says, quote, the kid has all the tools and he's going to be the story of training camp. And I completely agree with this article, and I just can't wait to hear more about Jalen Carter once we start OTAs here today. So I'm sure we'll hear more things about him in the coming days. And then of course, once we get to training camp, I mean, it's just going to be really interesting to hear about him and see what he can do once the Eagles get to practice in full pads. And then I think even once we hit preseason, Jalen Carter is going to be the guy to watch for the Eagles as well. Now, as for Nolan Smith, I think he's already becoming a fan favorite. I mean, recently, there was a draft day video released spotlighting Nolan Smith, and it's filled with clips that are sure to get Eagles fans excited.
Hey, Coach, I promise you, what that you seen, I ain't no soft player. I got you.
I know.
Hey, Coach Sean, I know you're busy. I'm fired up, but I want that playbook. I want it. I want a PDF. Hey, Coach, I want to be on that field. I want to show y'all why y'all should pick me up. I'm being dead ass serious.
Hey, the coach.
Man, this guy is absolutely ready. He's ready to come in and work. He's ready to prove all the teams that passed on him wrong. He's an absolute dog, and I just can't wait for him to prove it with the Eagles this year and moving into the future. And I mean, at the end of the day, we know that both of these guys have incredible talent. It's now just about their mentality, the work that they put in, and their determination to prove everyone wrong, but more importantly, prove themselves right. And they both got a chip on their shoulder, and now they'll enter their rookie season in September with the chance to make a big impact right away. And judging by everything that we've seen and heard all offseason, they're on track to do just that. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Just how excited are you about Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, and what do you think they're going to do in their rookie season with the Eagles? I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on it. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like on it and subscribe so you don't miss any others like it coming in the future. And if you want to watch another Eagles video, you should go watch this one right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.